Thank you for letting us do this. We know as a town that we need to do a much better job of communicating what's going on, communicating the state of what's going on, setting expectations, etc. It's been difficult to do this in the past. We thank you for allowing us to do it. We brought some cameras along because we're going to take this, film it, put it out on Facebook so people hear what's going on in other social media and hear what's going on across the town. It's probably a good thing that this didn't happen yesterday, because for some reason I had some irritant bugging me, and the first person that got me over to the WBA meeting, thank you, Don, took it all. It's just, and that's the nature of the beast sometimes, that in this job, that there are good days, there are bad days, but I get passionate about talking about the town of Waxhaw. We got a lot of great stuff going on. We have a great town. And we need to do a better job, and Warren and I have been talking about that for a while, as to how do we get this message out so people really, instead of focusing on the negative, focusing on the positive. When I think about Waxhaw, I don't read Facebook. I look at this. I actually have this on my desk at home. I look at it every day to remind myself how the outside world looks at Waxhaw. I don't know how many of you are familiar with NerdWallet. NerdWallet is a company that provides information so you can make an informed decision. They don't want you to pay for something that you don't know what you're getting. They rated us the #1 town for families in the state of North Carolina. Obviously, they see this when they come in and look at Waxhaw. And I had the privilege last year, for the first time as mayor, to light the Christmas tree and light the menorah, do all those things. What an experience when you're standing up on stage and you see the number of people that come in and want to be a part of this community, that have the pride in what we do in Waxhaw. It's a very powerful thing to see that. It was also kind of fun to stand next to the police chief, and he goes, "We didn't plan for this many people. What do I do?" And then he gets on the radio and runs around, and he's all nervous, which is good. He needs to be nervous. It's a good thing for him. We're getting a lot of recognition and awards. #1 best city for young families. They do that based upon schools, friendliness, community, affordability. You see obviously Heritage, the #1 restaurant. We've got great schools. One of the safest communities in North Carolina. This isn't something that happened just yesterday. We started 3 years ago as the 21st or 22nd safest. We got it up to #12, and then this year we're #5 in the state of North Carolina as as the safest community in North Carolina. When you see some of the figures a little bit later as to what's entailed there, that says that's a consistent and sustained effort by our police and police department, supported by a town board and a town manager, to do the right things for the town of Waxhaw. They get 26,000 service calls a year. We aren't hearing anything about other than positive customer service from them. That's a great thing. 26,000 interactions a year by the police department. Waxhaw Schools, you guys all participated in this, in giving some funding to the Kensington Elementary for their recognition as state champions. And when do they go, Earl?
At the end of the month, they go to Iowa State University for the World Finals.
That's a fantastic piece of recognition for a school in the town of Waxhaw. Let's look at the numbers. Yep, we're growing, but we're changing. You're going to hear a little bit later about the changing demographic across the state. But basically where we sit now, we got 76% of the population in Waxhaw is under the age of 48. We are a changing community. We're growing, but we're changing. And we have to meet the needs as a town board, as a town staff, meet the needs of everybody in this community, not just individuals. And that's a changing demographic that has happened over the last 3 to 5 years. Share a little fact with you. 2016, Charlotte's the #1 town in the United States where college graduates want to come and live, the Charlotte region. What does that say about the millennial population and the influx into not only the Charlotte region, but into Waxhaw? That's something that we have to address. Yep, we got 300 new homes a year. Warren process has the staff process those on a daily basis. Waxhaw Business Association growing, 110 members. We were a little light yesterday. Everybody was enjoying the month of May for various reasons, but we got a growing population there. We understand the transportation issues. Charlotte is where people go to work, by and large. 50% of the population here traverses across the county lines. That's a fact, and we have to do things to address that. How do we invest your tax dollars in this community? We do it. Yes, we have general government. That's the administrative side of things. But we balance it across this, what we call now the systems of government: public safety, transportation, environment, capital improvements, parks and rec, economic and community development. We're balancing, we now understand where our money's going, and we're balancing those across the various things that citizens and stakeholders are asking for in this town. We're allocating the money, and this is over a 2-year horizon. So it ebbs and flows year to year. People look at the annual budget and say, how are you spending your money? But this is how we're progressing over the last couple of years as to how we're investing in well-being, environment, and those kinds of things, all of which make up a viable community, a sustainable community. We're doing it in a sound way. Our fund balance, is sitting at 58% against a target of 50%. That means we can pay the bills if everybody quit paying taxes, and we can pay the bills for 7 months. We got a little bit of a mixed problem. Right now we're sitting at 92% of our income comes from households. We've got to get more businesses here. I'm going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later. In our debt margin, we're so low in terms of under the legal limit across the state of North Carolina. They want to know why we aren't borrowing more money. We don't have that philosophy. We have a pay-as-you-go philosophy. We will have to incur debt at some time as we look at infrastructure, but we have a pay-as-you-go philosophy, and we're putting money aside so we can do that. That's so we can sustain this community over time. Let's talk about welcoming and safe, quality of life, well-being. We've got over 140 acres of park and rec space, partnerships, 2,500 kids play in our parks and fields on a week-in, week-out basis. We've got South Piedmont Community College here offering curriculum over at St. Matthews, and we're working with the county to see how we can expand that. Why are we wanting to expand that? They want to get into a software type curriculum, software engineering type curriculum, which is where the economy is going. They want to understand how they can get into that and have the capabilities to do that. We run a number of events, we've talked about this, and then talk about the police department. You see the number of calls, you see, I'm going to say something about the traffic safety calls. We could lower that by 40% if everybody would turn their registration in on time. I'll just leave it at that. They could do other things. And Gary Summerfield has a great place to go get your car inspected, and then you can turn it in and get that registration on time. The DARE program, I have the opportunity to actually talk to the kids. The police include me in that fabulous program. But even more fabulous, what that has led to on a regular basis is the opportunity to bring kids into the community room and talk to them about public service. I probably do 2 or 3 of those a month, from the Boy Scouts to schools. We had one in the other day where they came in, want to understand what is public service. How do you get involved? Who are people we can talk to? Who are adults we can talk to about that? Great opportunities, and I'm looking forward to expanding that relationship now that you, Alicia, you gave Don the to-do to understand, to involve the public service out of it. I think it's good giving Don a to-do from time to time. Let's talk about environment. Something what amazes me is nobody's aware that we do this. But you look at the amount of stuff we handle annually to protect the environment. It's pretty amazing. It goes unnoticed. And I will be the first to tell you that we didn't set out one day just kind of looking at the ceiling and saying, hey, how can we go spend $300,000 to buy a compost facility in the town of Waxhaw? No, what we did was we realized how much we're processing. You're going to hear a little bit about the systems of government. I explained the environment. We grew so fast that we ignored the state law. Moving leaves is governed by the law. We didn't have a permit. We weren't dumping them in the proper place. We didn't have the things in place. And because we're doing these kinds of things of understanding our services, Warren was able to spot it, bring it forward to the board. We now have a place. We're implementing a compost facility. It pays for itself in 2 years. Yes, we could have looked at it and said, hey, go bag your own leaves. We would have filmed Earl trying to bag it as he's out in his yard trying to do 8 bags a week. We could have done that, but that's 4 to 5 times as expensive because they have to take all the leaves out of the bags when they get there, take them to a separate place, take the bags to a separate place. We're paying for it in 2 years. That's why we did it. It's not because we wanted to just arbitrarily spend $300,000 on a piece of land down off of 75. Very good investment. By the way, why is it critical? Because we're over 15,000, we now have to implement stormwater system. That's a requirement by law. If you just let the leaves go out into the street, they end up in the stormwater system, and then we have to go clean it out. So we're actually investing not only in the waste side, but in the stormwater side. And that's something that's on Warren's and his staff's team over the course of the next couple of years. How do we get that implemented? Again, these are all growth problems that we didn't just go into looking at it from the standpoint of how do we get into this. These are things that had to be there. They weren't necessarily there, and we're trying to address those as we grow. And then obviously on the investing side, we've invested a lot in parks, field acquisitions and development. This year we'll start building on the YMCA parks and the Y. I'm going to see the YMCA. I know they were here last week. That's expanding and their fundraising expanding, so we're excited about that. We've received a lot of grants in place. They're in place for trails, sidewalks, mobility, those kinds of things, bikeways. We're putting a heavy emphasis in public-private partnerships. Nobody can do it alone. The Y can't do it alone. The state can't do it alone. They can't build all the road and transportation needs that are out there across the state. They need to partner with us. We need to partner with them. We're going to invest $3 million in transportation improvements this year. They weren't planned for, but we needed to do it because it's critical. It's important. I mentioned the compost facility, and that's actually going to turn into a site for them, so Public Works will be invested in. And then probably the most important thing, the thing that I think is the highlight of the year for Warren and his team, we've implemented a professional development program. They've invested over and received over 2,500 hours of development this year. We're investing in the people to make sure that they have the right skills to serve all of you as we grow into the future. Now, growth. Everybody's favorite topic. Everybody has an opinion on it. We'll leave Facebook out of the equation for now on growth and how to handle it. Let's start with a basic fact, or a couple basic facts. Few states have grown the way North Carolina has across the country. We've changed our economy over the last 20 years. We've gone from agriculture to a wide array of service and technology types of economic development. Software and technology being keys, life science being a key. Back in 1990, 76% of the population was from within North Carolina. 2016, it's nearing a 50-50 split. Completely change in demographic across the state. Nowhere is that more evident than in where I used to live 10 years ago, in Raleigh and in Charlotte. Charlotte's the number 4 in the country. Raleigh's the number 2 in terms of house growth across the United States. They're coming here. People are coming here because they like what they see, the opportunity is here. In fact, moving to the North Union County. Union County has a two-pronged strategy: agriculture and the suburban lifestyle. They're keeping them separate. We're in the growth of the density part of Union County. That isn't going to change. They're lined up. They have a comprehensive plan that's lined up. That plan is lined with the state and the state legislature. Everybody understands where that is. Probably more than any town within the region, we're best aligned with the county and the state for proper growth, responsible growth. Growth that actually, before you build, we have taken into account the transportation systems, etc. This didn't come by overnight. Gotta show, I go back to that, and for proof, I show you this document from 2003. Waxhaw started on this journey back in 2003. Those words are taken right out of this document where we say, come on in. We talk about, we're going to be different. We're going to be mixed use. We're going to have mixed use centers across the town. Yes, we want to maintain our historic heritage, but we're going to grow. We want to be different than our surrounding municipalities. There's things in here that retail activities are not limited to Waxhaw's downtown. You have things, we're trying to establish guidelines for the development of the next 20 years. They started that in 2003. People we all know, David Veeder, Martin Lane, Tammy Norwood, Gabe Diller, etc., they were all a part of, and then the people that followed them with the master plan, setting us on this course, and we've been on it for 15 years. There was one statement in here, there was a hope, where, shame on us, we probably didn't address that hope. The town of Waxhaw will have a plan of action in hand to deal with its growth. Waxhaw will have succeeded in retaining its small town character if we do that. Well, we kind of missed a few steps along the way, but you have to look at it from the context of how do we put ourselves in? We inherit the situation we're in. How do we put ourselves on the right track? Well, it gets down to, we've got an opportunity. How do we manage and progress growth? I'm adamant, I'm passionate, we address all stakeholders. We will address all stakeholders. I've been called a carpetbagger. That's okay. I am a transplant. I've lived down here for 20 years, 21 years now in North Carolina. I'm proud of living here. I'm also proud of where I came from in the Midwest, where my dad still lives. But we have to address all of them. There's long-term residents, there's business owners, there's transplants, and the stakes, we have to address the stakes for everybody. There are people here that want the status quo, but there are a heck of a lot of people here that have dreams that we can help them fulfill and realize. That's our role. We help them all. I think it's a fun job. I think it's a fun area to be in. It has its days, but it's a great opportunity for us. I'm very proud of the fact that late 2014, the then board, current members John Hunt, Paul Fitzgerald, Jim Warner, myself, along with Don Gardner and Mike Stewart, we stepped back and said, we've got to start answering some of these questions. There's something awry here. Why are we experiencing some of these transportation problems and growth problems? How the heck did we land with Kensington Drive and a $3 million bill? You start asking these questions. Do we have the right systems in place? Well, I'll start here. We realized that we were probably not the subject matter experts, and we better hire a good town manager. We went on an extensive search, Warren's here, and he helped us as we started down this process of answering these questions. Do we even know what services we provide? What's core? What do we need to keep? What do we need to get rid of? Do we have the right team in place? Are we working with other governments, public, private sector, etc.? And do we even understand how these things work together? Being very candid with you, and this is where we are. We did not have the right systems in place. There's no way to sugarcoat it. We had a few things, we had a few pieces of the puzzle. We weren't keeping them current. And I am not being critical of anybody. When you have that kind of growth and you're trying to manage all those things and you're building plans, et cetera, and trying to address all that, the complexity of that, and as you grow, is not for the faint of heart. But we took the step back. We know we're missing some of the pieces now. You look at the list: financial systems, transportation system. We weren't doing capital budgeting. All those things. Probably most importantly, there were gaps in how we went about it, how we governed and managed. Warren came in, we asked him for a 120-day review. Well, actually, 100-day review, and he missed the target, so we had to coach him there. It was a 120-day review. But he basically said, you haven't embraced your form of government. You need to unleash me and the staff to do our job because we're the subject matter experts. And you need to do the policy side, which there are significant gaps in as well. That was a wake-up call for the whole way we govern and manage the system. What we realized, and just to give you an example, I'm going to go through a few of these things, just so you realize what the impact of that really had. We, by not realizing the complexity, we increased our liabilities and we lost some opportunities. The administrative management, financial system. We had never done a true budget. We had no idea what all those master plans were going to cost. $140 million when we did the piece of work was never, ever accounted for. But we set the expectation in all those plans that we were going to do that. We didn't have departments set up. That chart I showed you as to how we spend our money, we couldn't do that 3 years ago. We just wrote a check and went on. We could not get to that level. That's not a negative, that's just a, hey, let's be real as to where we are. We've addressed things like traffic impact analysis, fancy term that basically says before we build anything, we're hiring a professional engineer to make sure that we're doing the right things and we have the right development plans in place to address those things. The compost facility, as I mentioned, we found that, thankfully, before the state came down and issued their $15,000 a day fine. Give you an idea what that would have cost the town. So to put us on the right track, we've been active. Nothing glamorous. Not a dang thing up there is glamorous. We've completed the true budgeting. We've modernized the financial system. We've reestablished the direction. We didn't have a vision, a mission, a set of strategic initiatives, a set of values for the town until last year. We're getting more boards and committees structured to support that. We're addressing the transportation slowly but surely, and part of that is reaching out to your regional partners. Gary cringes every time I say that, but we had 4 definitions for Waxhaw Parkway, not a one of which we shared with the state, and we were asking them for $50 million to fund it. And their logical question was, what do you want me to fund? Come back when you're ready. We got to do better things like that. We got to get better at doing things like that. We're doing that, and that's fun. It's not glamorous, but we're getting there. We finalized the human resource policies, which has enabled them to increase their skills, get the right people in the right place at the right time. We're re-engaging our partners. Yep, and then we're now going to go after this year, we're going to have a better understanding of the performance level of the services we provide now that we know how we're providing them. You got to always throw a chart to keep your town manager up here happy, and this is the geeky chart for Warren because he loves this, and this is his growth management system and all that good stuff. The important thing to realize in here, the only 2 things that we really had in place that were working properly were the 2 things in black. We didn't have any of this. We're in the we've got this now, and this is going to be in place within the next couple of months. We just put that in place. We weren't giving any strategic guidance so they could form a budget. Comprehensive plan we wrote, never updated from 2009, and therefore never kept it current. All these things are being put in place, and everything around was put in place. Within the next 6 months, that system will be up and running, and we can get on to the things that are important to all the citizens. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be doing things along the way. We do have critical projects. We're investing over $1 million downtown, sidewalks, safety, biking. We're also going to address across down on Waxhaw Marvin, Town Creek Park, so people can actually get in there and use the park. There's a good example of a system that didn't work and why you have to do these things together. Got a great park there. Beautiful soccer field. Never integrated into the development side of it. No parking. You can't schedule games there because you can't park cars there. And the street that's across Waxhaw Marvin is designed for no parking. So we are limited in what we can do with it to just a practice field, which is a shame. We got to go solve those kind of problems. But we're also going to put a walkway across the street so people can use the trail system that connects all the way up, and ultimately is going to connect all the way up. This is Warren's to do, to get that to connect all the way up to the YMCA Puritan area. All that stuff is very doable now that we can look at it in a more systemic way. Quality of life, we talked about the YMCA. We're working on some things trail system-wise, transportation. Warren has agreed to some dates, because I bug him on this on a regular basis. Kensington Drive will start in the summer, probably in July. We're going to do it in 3 phases. We're going to do the middle part and tear the whole road up, reclaim it, and lay the proper base with the proper engineering. In the fall, we'll do the Puritan Town Center area, which basically says we're going to take out the on-street parking. We'll take out the street lights and move them, and we'll make that a legitimate road for the future. And then in the near future, near is a relative term, so I won't hold Warren to this, but in the very near future, we'll do the Waxhaw, Marvin, Kensington intersection up there, but that's dependent upon some of the Millbridge development funding coming in. We've got money set aside from St. Matthew, and we're waiting for them to finalize their plans. That intersection has to be straightened, widened, and all that stuff, and the state needs to weigh in. We're going to do that as part of the 3rd phase and get that done right. The state, we found out, and I think it's within the next 3 years, is going to replace the bridge on Waxhaw Marvin that goes down and up into town. So basically, we're going to shut down all traffic in the town, and everybody we'll give you Warren's phone number to call and complain, kind of thing. Key initiatives. We're working daily on downtown. We're going to revitalize that. That is going to be our historic downtown, and it's going to be turned into a destination. We're starting with the whole walkability side of it. We've had the parking study done, so we can lay out how people can get around down there, park down there, and actually move around down there. And then Kurt White from Warren's staff is working on the business mix down there, so we can create a more lively environment. It's starting this weekend with the opening of Dream Chasers, and there's a good example where the town worked with him, facade grant, restored the original look of the fire doors, etc. Those are good things, and those are good things happening in Waxhaw. And one of the things that we are going to do is we're going to rebrand and promote our town very aggressively. We'll get through the budget cycle. Probably in the July-August timeframe, we're going to come out and you're going to see a promotion campaign, a very aggressive promotion campaign and branding campaign around the town of Waxhaw and promote our brand. But that promotion of the brand is going to apply to everybody. The entire set of demographics, the entire set of residents and business and stakeholders that live here. And we are doing, we're going to, sometime in this calendar year, we will do a community survey. We've never done that. And we're going to do it every other year. So we're going to establish a baseline. A lot of towns do this, but we're going to go out, spend the money, and do it the right way to understand needs and aspirations for the town across the entire community. Not an ad hoc survey, but a very formal with a professional organization coming out and really gathering the data we need to make sure that we keep on and maintain ourselves on the right track. And of course, meetings like this. We will do a state of the town on an annual basis going forward. Warren knows, Jenny knows how hard it was to pull this together because in the past we didn't have a lot of this information. And if anybody wants to look at my thumb drive and see how many iterations of this there is, I mean, as you get the data, it's a great story, but it's also an expectation setting of where we are. We just had to get there, and that's good. Got to understand one thing. This is our commitment. We're going to secure the best growth opportunities. We'll protect the environment. We'll ensure quality of life. But we've got to do it with realism. We had an experience this week where we would love certain stores, businesses to come here, but that's not what the market is telling us right now. So we have to work within the market confines and grow the town within those confines. And that's a daily set of activities led by Warren. I participated in, the whole staff participates in it. But at the end of the day, it isn't about an agenda. It isn't about a personal agenda. That is the role of the government. That is my duty and every elected official's duty. We'll take care of what we have been given, and we will pass it on to the next generation. That may be at the end of 4 years, it may be the end of 8 years, it may be the end of 1 year. I don't know. But we will pass it on to the next generation in better condition. That's what we're committed to. We can argue and debate in a very civil way where we are and where we're going and get it right, and we want to do that, but that's what our duty is, and we're committed to that. I believe, and I'll take questions here in a minute, we're on the right track. I have the utmost confidence in Warren and his team that we're on the right track, and we are committed to the heritage, the activities, and the well-being for all of us to live, work, and play. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Questions?